Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Natasha. I head the business excellence function here at Alorica. Apart from my exciting career here, I'm also a wellness coach, and I'm here to answer a couple of questions today. A little bit of my background: I have two little girls. I have a husband who works in corporate communications in Tata Elxsi, and my journey with health actually started a couple of years ago. I noticed that my kids were falling sick pretty early, and they loved school, so they didn't really want to miss it. And the usual having to run to the pediatrician, and then you have to take time off from work. So it was just one thing after another, and I was looking for a solution to see if I could keep them healthy. And that's when I really met, a group of people that I work closely with today, research scientists and fitness experts. And that's when I really understood the science of food. So the exciting thing about my journey today with health is I've learned to eat right. My family maintains really good health. I did want to lose weight as well. I've been on many programs, just hadn't found success because I just didn't find anything that was sustainable. Nobody taught me how to eat right. And so I have a program that I work with people to understand the science of cellular health and how food impacts you. And this is a wellness program, and I'd be happy to help anyone that's interested in just staying well, being fit, and maybe losing weight. So I'm happy to take a few questions today, and this would be exciting to get started. Okay, so Rima has a question. She says, "Hi Natasha, just want to know what natural food items I should get into my diet to enhance immunity." So that's a really good question, Rima. The thing with our food today is we need to understand our food groups. Most importantly, we must look at all of our food groups, which include your carbohydrates, your proteins, your fats, your vitamins, minerals, as well as water. What's really important for us and what a lot of us don't understand today is the importance of protein. When we look at our diet, very few of us actually have enough protein in our diet. And so looking at options to improve your protein levels. So yes, options like paneer, if you're a meat eater, you definitely want to look at meat options. You want to look at tofu. So if you're someone who's carrying excess weight and you are looking at lean protein options as vegetarians, you definitely must look at that. But what you do have to understand is the level of nutrition in food is also, has definitely dropped over the last couple of years. And so we need to be able to look at how do we bridge those nutritional gaps. And that's something that I can help you with offline. So we have some interesting questions here. Priyanka asks, how do I ensure nutrition for my family and not compromise on time spent at work? So Priyanka, the important thing to make a note of is to understand how, really looking at which industry really benefits us. If, which industry benefits if we are, if we are sick. There's a whole lot of industries out there. There's hospitals, there's insurance companies, there's gyms and other fitness spaces that benefit, and not everyone's looking for vying for a piece of our share of the pie. Now, if we just learn to look after ourselves and learn to eat healthy, a healthy lifestyle is really 80% of what we eat and about 20% of fitness. If we have a balance between the two of those, we'll definitely be able to lead a healthy lifestyle. But that's a great question, and I'd be happy to, reach out to you personally if you'd like to look for a solution around that. Another question we have is from Anusha. She says, "Hi, Natasha. Greetings of the day. Greetings to you too, Anusha. I wish to ask you about managing a healthy diet for us being mothers. Of course, we concentrate only on our kids' well-being, forgetting our world. Supposedly, we should be more stronger to manage work-life situation and drive a whole family. Hope to have a chat with you." That's most exciting, Anusha. In fact, that really resonates well with me. The reason I say that is because, and this is something that I normally like to tell people. When you're flying in an aircraft, you'd notice that they tell you that when the oxygen drops in the aircraft, your oxygen masks drop down, and they always tell you to put the mask over your face first before helping others. And that I found really interesting. And the reason for that is if you can't look after yourself first, you need to be able to be in the pink of health. You really need your health because your entire family is dependent on you. If you're that whole soul of your family. If your health is going to suffer, there's your husband that's dependent on you, there's your children that's dependent on you. If you're a working professional, your colleagues at work, your management is dependent on you. And if you're not really feeling great, there's very little that you can actually do. There's another question we have from Shubhra. She says, hi, I'd like to know how much protein is required for women in their 30s and in a vegetarian menu, and where can it be consumed from? Interesting question, Shubhra. Good. So protein actually, and this is a very misunderstood, a lot of us don't understand too much about protein. This is the way you need to look at it. Protein, unlike carbs and fats, the body has no ability to store it. And what you actually need on a daily basis is 1 gram at a minimum per kilo of body weight. So assuming if I'm about 60 kilos, on a daily basis, I need about 60 grams of protein to be consumed. The thing about protein is we can eat protein-rich foods. We need to understand what are protein-rich foods. And the bioavailable figures of that is what you should be looking at. So, for example, if I take 100 grams of tofu, 100 grams of tofu would give me about 20 grams of bioavailable protein, which my body can absorb. So those are kind of the food groups you should be looking at. So there's things like paneer, there's tofu, there are soya chunks, soya granules. If you're a meat eater, a lot of the lean meats that you can consider, eggs, these are some very good options to look at. Gunjan asks, so how do I ensure my health along with managing my family and time spent at work? So Gunjan, actually, I do have a program. I work with, as a health coach, I work with people across the country. I work with a program called the Optimal Health Management Program. It's a 6-week program that teaches you exactly how to eat, right? And also helps you put together a formula in terms of managing how you should put your food together in a very simple way, so that even if you're spending time away from family, if you're traveling, if you're a traveling professional, if you're at home, how you can manage to put your meals together and be able to eat healthy. Divya has a very interesting question. She says, there are so many diet plans going around on social media and relative circle. Are they really worth it, or can we eat healthy without any of these fancy diet plans? So Divya, the interesting thing, like you mentioned, a lot of these diets are, unsustainable. You need to understand that eating healthy is a lifelong choice that you have to make. You cannot do it for a short period of time. It's something that you have to develop in terms of a habit and learn to eat lifelong. Like I mentioned, there are good things and there are there are not so good things. But what you have to understand with the diet is that most diets actually starve you, and that doesn't really serve the purpose. But what you must look at is actually eating right, like I keep re-emphasizing. And like I said, happy to help you. We have a program that's available that teaches you how to stay well, how to help you lose weight, if that's an option that you're looking for, and how to remain well overall. We have another interesting question from Sarah Dindu. Hi, Natasha. Is there any specific yoga-related diet? How is it useful to people to lose weight? Do we really have to follow diets? So this is interesting. Yoga is a good form of exercise. However, when we put a plan together for someone, we typically look at exercise in terms of walking. At least doing about 10,000 steps in a day is good enough exercise. It's not like you have to go out and join a gym. But yes, learning to eat right does require certain disciplines. And once you're educated about the science of how that works, then you are really putting yourself in the driver's seat to understand how you can help yourself. Akshata says, I work from home. How do I ensure my family gets the right level of nutrition and that I don't end up spending a lot of time in the kitchen? Yes, very interesting. So Akshata, unfortunately, I'm pretty poor at, putting my meals together. I'm a terrible cook, and I have someone else who does that for me. However, if somebody does enjoy cooking, what we have is helping people understand very, very simple recipes that they can put together for vegetarian options, like I mentioned, looking at good sources of protein, looking at good sources of carbohydrates, you're looking at carbs. switching from simple to more complex carbs, looking at incorporating a lot more salads into your diet, eating a fruit not as a snack, but eating it before your meal, snacking on protein options and not snacking on carb options. The interesting thing to learn here is that unlike proteins, the body has this inherent ability to store carbs as well as fats. And so irrespective of how much you eat in terms of carbs, that does get stored. And so that's something you need to learn how to eat right with. And like I said, if you're happy to reach out to me, I have a program that works really well, benefited a whole lot of people, and have really been able to help people stay well. Interesting question from Aishwarya. What are some of the recent and often neglected health risks arising due to food habits, and how do we overcome these concerns? So, Aishwarya, very interesting question. I'm sure you hear a lot of the kind of illnesses we're hearing today are non-communicable diseases, right? Women are suffering, not just women, everyone really is suffering from things like PCOD, thyroid, diabetes, obesity, cancers. There are 3 types of cancers that are actually related to a lack of nutrition, which is colon, prostate, and breast cancer. We're also looking at heart conditions. We're looking at strokes. We're looking at dementia. We're looking at Alzheimer's. We're looking at a whole host of such non-communicable diseases that are arising today. And all of these are actually a result of lifestyle. Yes, food habits is one of the areas, and the best part is that is something that we can control. And like I mentioned, we do have a program which helps you understand and take control of your life by learning to eat right and also exercising sufficiently. So if you'd like to understand more, please do feel free to reach out to me. I'm available at Natasha_M27@hotmail.com, and my number is 98450 68923. I look forward to hearing from you. Nalini asks, hi, I've been hearing a lot about detoxification lately. What is it and how does it help us? Interesting question, Divya. So detoxification, if you look at it, the way we eat our food, we're eating a lot of very oily kind of food with a lot of trans fats in it. These are things that we need to start to avoid over a long period of time. We need to understand how do we switch our oils so that we're not eating trans fats or hydrogenated oils. And this is something that you learn on the program as well, that we advocate. The interesting thing about our program is that if someone is carrying excess weight, they will tend to lose it. On a first cycle of 6 weeks, you can lose anywhere between 4 to about 5 kilos, but you also lose inches, which is most exciting. Whereas if you're somebody who's lean and is looking to build lean muscle, that is also something that the program does provide you with. And like I mentioned, we've been providing solutions to people across the country that have benefited from the program and have just learned to eat right so that they can stay well. Shweta's question is, Shilpa's question is, what are quick and yet well-balanced and nutritious food options for working moms? So, like I mentioned, we are looking at incorporating complex carbs into our diet because what complex carbs do for you is they break down into sugars at a much slower rate than your simple sugars. What you have in the bloodstream is your glycemic index. Most people look at food in terms of its calorific value. That's not the entire story today. What we explain to people is how we have a sugar threshold in our bloodstream and looking at eating complex carbs that don't give you a sugar spike. So these are foods that have a lot more fiber in them, which break down slowly. So looking at switching from simple carbs to complex carbs. In my own kitchen, how do I determine that? So if I'm eating things like white rice, bread, chapatis, pasta, noodles, I need to be able to switch over to eating complex carbs, which would be, if I have a multigrain atta, I incorporate ragi and jawar into it, creating multigrain chapatis. If I do bread, I'd look at a multigrain bread option. If I'm doing poha, upma, semia, which is typically what our breakfasts are today, you need to add for one portion of that, you need to have 2 portions of vegetables so that adds fiber to your diet. If you're eating idli and dosas, these are things that you make at home. The batter, if you buy it from the market, has stabilizing agents which you want to avoid. You want foods that have, you can add ragi flour to it. If you add millets, you can do things like quinoa. So those help you with your complex carbs. When it comes to fats, you're looking at the right kinds of fats because it's important for your cell membrane. Need to look at switching over from your trans fats or your vegetable oils to using mediums like ghee, coconut oil, or butter, because those are saturated fats and those are they do not get unstable at high temperatures, which is what we do have normally in our Indian cooking. Avoiding fried foods, of course, and looking at increasing our protein intake from our foods, taking it to at least about having, like I mentioned, 1 gram of protein per kilo of body weight, looking at understanding the right kinds of protein-rich foods that you will need, as well as making sure that, by bridging the nutritional gap, you're looking at safe supplements and understanding that as well. Also looking at vitamins and minerals, you definitely need to have about 5 servings of fruit and vegetable. Actually, the WHO has taken up that number to about 10 servings of fruit and vegetable. And your serving sizes, if this is a fistful, if this is a serving size, you need about 10 to 11. They need to be 5 different colors, they need to be 5 different varieties, and they need to be eaten within half an hour of harvesting. Not many of us are eating that way, unfortunately, but we do need to look at fruit and vegetable that's available seasonally, that's available locally. There's a lot of information that we talk of in terms of organic, but you need to understand what organic actually means. Organic is looking at making sure that the land from where it's been grown actually hasn't used pesticides and chemical fertilizers for the last 5 to 7 years. Manju's question: for today's lifestyle, where the nutrition of veggies and fruits is a question mark, I agree. Is food supplements recommended for all age groups? Manju, that's a very interesting question. Yes. So when we look at bridging the nutritional gap in our foods, we need to understand exactly what a food supplement does. You have to understand that it is not a meal replacement, and you need to be educated about the kind of food supplements that you're looking at. Of course, it is recommended for all age groups. The reason being because today our fruit and vegetables, just like you've mentioned, there isn't enough nutrition in it left. And what you're looking at a food supplement to do is really just to bridge those nutritional gaps that are missing from our food today. But choosing a food supplement is extremely, extremely something that you need to take advice from in terms of someone who can help you with that. You need to understand the source of where this is coming from. You need to look at extremely organic food supplements. You need to have make sure that there are no synthetics in it and that they do not have long-term side effects. So choosing a food supplement requires, expert advice before you decide to pick up something off the shelf. Divya's question is: with my busy work schedule, I end up munching a lot. What are some of the healthy munching options? So Divya, very interesting. On the program that we have, and what we teach you to do is to learn to snack on protein options. Okay, so this would be things like, so we have things like a buttermilk that we would suggest that you do, which protein actually helps you keep really full. And what you notice when your protein levels are optimal, you don't end up having to snack. You find that, and on our program, actually, what we teach you to do is eat every 2.5 to 3 hours, eat small meals, eat the right kind of meals. You need to understand protein options. So, if you were to saute paneer, about 50 grams of that, or even looking at cheese cubes are good options to snack on. So, other protein options is what you really want to be looking at, so that when your protein levels are high, your sugar cravings actually come down, and then you end up not having to snack on things which actually make you put on weight. So the right kind of protein snacks avoids making those kind of mistakes. Sharda has a question: is having your own terrace garden for veggies a need today? Also, do we need to choose everything organic? Interesting question, Shanta. So yes, having your own terrace garden. So the one thing that's interesting to note, Shanta, is with soil, one needs to understand the relationship between soil and your fruit and vegetable today. If you look at why we're talking about our fruit and vegetable not having enough nutrition, if you see our farming practices over the last couple of 30, 40 years, as an agrarian country, we used to be growing maybe two crops on a single piece of soil. And so the plant actually had the ability to absorb all the vitamins and minerals from the soil. So if you're looking at things like calcium, selenium, iron, magnesium, potassium, all of this was coming from our soil into the plants, and that was being made available to us through our fruit and vegetable. Today, unfortunately, because as a country and as the world has started to get more commercial in terms of food, we are looking at farmers doing at least maybe 6 to 7 crops on a single piece of land. Also looking at the quality of your soil. Today, there are very few organizations that can actually certify a soil being organic. Even if you do, you don't really know what is the level of, whether there's been any fertilizer, chemical fertilizer or pesticide that's been used in that soil. Even if it hasn't been used for the last 5 to 7 years, you don't know what is the level of nutrition in the soil that's actually available, because you're looking at natural farming practices where you're using organic methods of using earthworms. You're letting the land actually rest and rejuvenate before it is actually used for planting again. That being said, we need to understand that yes, we must eat what's available locally. We must try and eat seasonal. I would avoid eating things like grapes, especially for our children. The reason being is they have a high amount of sugars. They have no seeds. Your papayas today also again are seedless variety. See, God never intended for us to be eating without seeds. All our fruit and vegetable did have seeds in it. And those are the kind that you should be typically looking at eating today. Eat what's locally available, and that's what would have more likely to have better nutrition. However, like I mentioned, there is always still a gap, and to be able to bridge that nutritional gap, it's very wise to look at supplementation. But again, choosing a supplement is very, very needs to be done very carefully, needs to be done in discussion with somebody who understands food. And like I mentioned, we do have a program that helps you choose the right kind of supplement, helps you choose the right kind of options from carbs, fats, proteins, vitamins, and mineral options, and helps you learn to just stay healthy and eat right long term. So we have a few more questions here. Asha asked, do we always need to plan meals as per our staple traditional diet? With so many options of cooking and food available today, how do we choose? So Asha, traditionally, it was healthy for us to eat, as the way we used to, as our parents and grandparents were. Today, unfortunately, because food has become, lacks the right amount of nutrition today, and the way we cook our food also has ended up with us having certain lifestyle-related illnesses. If you notice, our grandparents and our parents, some of them may have been really healthy, but if you see the trend over the last 30, 40 years, a lot of us are falling sick at a much younger age. And that's really a lot related to the way we cook our food and the kind of food that we're actually eating today. So yes, we do have a plan, we do have a program that teaches you how to eat right, teaches you the science of this, and also helps you with how to make the right food choices. Is it beneficial? Divya's question is it beneficial to consult an actual dietitian to help with the diet plan? Most definitely, Divya. If you are looking for somebody to help you with that, I'm more than happy to take you through what we have to offer you. You shouldn't follow a diet by itself. I would suggest don't go on the internet and try and pick out a plan and try and follow it. There is a science to everything that's been out there, but you need to consult with somebody who can help you through that plan. You don't want to be making mistakes. At the end of the day, it's your life, and it's really your asset. That's the way I look at it. If you don't have your health and you don't have that, no matter what else you have in life, you're not going to be able to maintain anything else. So you need to treat your body like an asset, because that's going to deliver the highest amount of value to you. So I think we've come to the end of our chat session today. I hope I've been able to answer some of your questions. Like I mentioned, I'm happy to take you through more information. We do have a program that's available. We'd love to help you with your health. I personally believe that health is a gift that everybody deserves. And you can reach me on Natasha_M27 at hotmail.com. I'm also available on 98450 68923. Please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm looking at really helping women that are in the workforce that need their health today. I'm looking at helping people across the country. People understand, so just really to help you understand the science of food at a cellular level, teaching you how to eat right, helping you shed those extra kilos. Because at the end of the day, if you look at it, your self image and your self respect has a lot to do with the way you look. And if you don't feel right and if you don't feel well, there's very little that you can actually do. You need to be an example to others. And I believe that this is something we shouldn't take for granted. Life comes and goes. And if we're not around to enjoy the benefits of everything that we're working so hard for today, there's really no point to it. So, looking forward to helping all of you in the future. Happy to reach out. And thank you all for your time and the wonderful questions that you've had today. Thank you.